Okay, we're live for Razor Vibration online. Today's October 2nd. Welcome everyone out there in internet land and on our website. Good to see ya. Hope you're having a great week, and a lot of changes happening in the world, as we know. So we come here every first and third Friday to just raise the vibration and keep things high and bring some inspiration and motivation and music to the world. And today we've got special guests, musician Larry Hill, and Jonathan Bangle is our guest speaker today. He's the Naked Tax.
Come on, Naya.
The Naked Tax guy. All right, so we are going to start with the music here with Larry. So we're gonna come off the screen here and get Larry going. And Larry, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody. This is called Don't Let Them Take Your Dreams. Don't let them take your dreams away. That is more than you have to give. Don't ever let them hear you say that you don't have the right to live. There's always one thing that is true. Your dreams are given just for you. So keep them safely way inside until it's time to live them right. Don't let them take your dreams away. Don't ever let them put you down when there's something you have to say. Hey, on the ragged edge of town, go ahead anyway. There's room enough for you out there. There's pride and clear and pressure rare. They may not think the same as you. You know just what you have to do. Don't let them take your dreams away. Take the time, it's only one season, this is the reason. You already know, finding your answers and taking your chances. Don't let them drive you down to tears. Keep your head up to the sky, the answers written in the years. Don't let it pass you by. Your dreams are waiting there for you. There's always one more coming true. Sometimes they die, sometimes they rust, but still they must have you to trust. Don't let them take your dreams away. Don't let them take your dreams. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Larry, thank you. That was great. And we'll see you in a little bit later. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we've got Jonathan. Jonathan, I'm going to add you on the stream here.
All
Welcome,
right.
Jonathan. All right, we can see you perfectly. So, Jonathan and Go, we just met a couple of weeks ago, and
we sure did.
through Clifford Starks. And yes, and we had a great conversation. And you are all about taxes and helping people profit. And you're an author and a speaker, and you're a profit coach, and you just love helping people with their taxes. And you have a spiritual viewpoint on life, which I loved when we first spoke. The way you look at money and taxes, I just thought you would be perfect for the show. So glad you're here.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, thank you. I have no idea what I'm in for, so I'm letting you drive.
Well, it's pretty open. Everyone here is really amazing. We're just, friendly community here. So just whatever comes to your mind about money and taxes and spirituality and how you can help people in this time with raising their vibration and just, being a whole, healthy, optimally vibrating person. So I'm going to leave it to you. Take it away and whatever comes up for you, Jonathan.
Hey,
All
listen.
right.
All right, this is fantastic. So, well, in that case, for those of you who don't know me or have never seen me before, my name's Jonathan Bangle, and I am an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur, and most importantly, a profit coach. And what I do is I guide small business owners, especially women and LGBTQ business owners, through the darkness of taxation because they fear the IRS a lot. And as a result, they tend to overpay and underdeduct on their tax returns, and the whole list goes on. And so, what I realized is that I can help, and I do help them to transform their lives to something that we all know I like to call financial happiness. You know, when we think about financial happiness, we think to ourselves, it's a lot of having a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, it definitely feels
Hi,
great
Larry.
to have a lot of money sometimes.
All right.
But
Could you hear me at all or not?
but I can hear you. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna keep.
All right, Jonathan. Continue. I'm sorry. I just had to mute out, so I didn't know you.
Oh, no worries. It's okay. No worries. It's kind of like it's like my show as well. I forgot to mention that too, right? Like I have my own talk show as well called Naked Tax Talk. And so anyway, so as I was saying, we have this whole like issue when it comes to, you know, what is financial happiness. And the reality is that a lot of us struggle, a lot of taxpayers struggle with understanding like the most basic foundations in their businesses. And when I figured this out for myself, after I became an IRS enrolled agent so many moons ago now, several years now, I realized that the best way to, sorry, I'm just getting, I think someone's asking for someone for asking. So, needless to say, yes. So what I do is I actually work with business owners on how to progress their businesses forward. And I don't know, Howard, if your audience can hear you. I hear you going in the background. I don't know if this is an effect. This is the situation or not. Hello? Did you leave me the stage to myself? Okay, so what was I saying though? Yeah, so financial happiness boils down to this. I was asked a question actually not too long ago, maybe about a couple years ago, and it was a friend of mine. He was hanging out with me, and he had said, "You know, JB, what is it like? What is it like to be you?" And I said, "Never ever having to worry about my finances ever again, and more importantly, never having to worry about paying for everything." You see, the thing is that before I actually was what I am today, which again is a successful multi-six-figure business owner, a person who hires people. Over 15 different people now work for me doing different things and saving people millions of dollars on their tax returns and having a fantastical life of what I just ultimate from everything, from the spiritual self, from the health self, from the money self, all of that stuff. It wasn't always that way for me. I actually was supposed to be a statistic. I was born to a mother who was single, who raised two boys on a fixed income, and I grew up in something called extreme poverty. And I define that by telling the world that it's when my mother only brought home $500 a month, and that was to pay for rent, for food, and for clothing. And oftentimes we did not know where we were going to be living. And as a result, my mother moved us around a lot. You know, growing up in poverty also meant that I didn't have access to a lot of things that I think most people have access to if they're not. What I mean by that is, for example, education. It turns out that when we are born into extreme poverty, the likelihood of getting out of the cycle of poverty is extremely low. I should have been a statistic in that I should have had children by now. I should be homeless, or I should be living in some type of shelter of some kind right now. I should be uneducated, and I should be relying on the system for help. Not that that's a bad thing, but these are all the statistics that were going against me. And I managed to rise myself out of that through really dedicating myself to improving my own self condition. And I did that, of course, by ultimately following two paths. The first path was that of education, and then I would ultimately change my major to accounting, and then I would become this crazy-ass accountant that doesn't follow the norms. And what I mean by that is that I'm not the guy that sits behind a screen and taps on computer keys and pulls up tax returns and does that kind of crazy ass stuff for people. Now we do. It's just, that's not the end result. You see, what I realized is that, like me, a lot of us struggle with how to go from one step to the next step. You know, especially as entrepreneurs, we struggle with how do we, in fact, keep the money that we're making, because some of us make really good money, and legally stop it from going to the government. And so I realized that I too can help people to transform their lives from the stuckness into the abundantness of their life. And I realized that part of the way we get there is through what I would later learn through studying Buddhism, that every single living being on this world has one singular wish, and that is the wish to be happy. And what I realized is that every one of us as entrepreneurs, we're each given a small nugget of what financial happiness is to each of us, but more importantly, what is happiness to us. So the people that we meet in our lives that are entrepreneurs, they're all bringing with them a sense of happiness, and they're giving it and conveying it to us. You know, for example, take musicians of the world, right? They were given a gift to bring to us ways to uplift us, to change the vibration for which we vibrate at. And we do that through music, correct? So as a result, they bring us this nugget of beautiful music of their sense of happiness. And in one way, we could say that if we follow the path of a musician, we will ultimately seek musical happiness. We do that too in finances as well. We follow a set study, a set structure for how to get there. So it turns out that this year, I actually wrote a book called The ABCs of Deductions, an Entrepreneur's Guide to Tax Write-Offs. It became a #1 best Amazon seller. As a result, I also became a #1 best international and national author as well. You see, what I did in my book is I thought to myself, you know, how do we achieve happiness in the smallest route of time, in a sense, right? Especially through our financial side of it. And what I realized is every single business owner, if they're bringing happiness, it turns out that they have a friend in their pocket. And we call this friend Uncle Sam, also known as the government. But you see, I also knew that nobody would read my book if I made it all about technical tax shit and law crap. I instead removed all of that out. And instead, I tell a story of each of the deductions, A through Z, that you're allowed to take inside of your own business, because Uncle Sam fundamentally understands the same principles. So let me give you an example. I wrote the letter A for advertising. The way I wrote the story goes like this, and I paraphrase it because I don't remember it word for word. A for advertising. You see, Uncle Sam understands one fundamental human principle that every single one of us lives by. It turns out that every single one of us, from the moment that we were born, wanted to seek out the desire to be seen and heard. And so we do everything in our power to be seen and heard. Some of us, you know, we might throw tantrums. Most of us definitely found ways to let the world we knew existed, either through our clothing, the way we spoke, the way we showed up, the way we just make a presence and come into the world. That is the reality of all of us wanting to be seen and heard. Well, would you believe me that if I said that your business is no different? You see, Uncle Sam realizes that every single business owner needs to be seen and they need to be heard. And as a result, he says that for everything that you spend inside of your business, as long as it is necessary and ordinary in the due course of business, you can deduct the cost of advertising, of promotions, stage times, the idea of buying marketing material. If you're speaking on someone's stages, if you're paying for radio ads or Facebook ads or Google ads or any kind of advertising, Uncle Sam fundamentally understands the need to be seen and the need to be heard. And as a result, he allows us to deduct this on our taxes. That is what I do for every single letter of the alphabet, A through Z. You see, because what I realize is if we can understand the basic foundations of what we can write off, it removes the fear that every single one of us lives through, not only in our businesses, but in our own personal lives. right? We say that we walk through this thing called the fog of ignorance. But if we take just but a moment to step back and to slowly become aware, we begin to use awareness to remove the fog of ignorance. And when we do, we realize something really spectacular. And that is the ability to see, the ability to now make a decision in the next move. And as a result, we now experience the freedom of choice. And now, as a result, we implement mindfulness. Mindfulness, knowing that we're always going to move forward into a new direction, never backwards into an old way of thinking. So, for example, when an entrepreneur is done reading my book, we now apply the mind of mindfulness. Because now they're aware, right? You are just aware right now. If you're listening and watching this show right now, you've become aware as a business owner of one deduction out of over 400 of them. So now that you're aware, we can remove the ignorance and slowly remove the fear that gets placed upon us. And now we can use mindfulness to make better decisions in our own personal lives, but also in our business lives. So what do I mean by this? So for example, if you've never worked with a business coach like myself before, one might be afraid to work with them because it's kind of like, will they deliver the results? Will my business actually grow? And I'm here to tell you from personal experience, after working with so many of my own coaches, that the answer is true. That you can, if you work with the right one, transform your personal life, which has a direct relationship to your business life and has a triple effect, and that is impacts your money life. So needless to say, here we go. We use mindfulness. So I realized that if we can apply those foundations to the things that we can deduct, I can now make decisions far way better in my business, like working with a coach and knowing that Uncle Sam says this. Do you know that he understands another fundamental human principle? And that is I for improvement. You see, in our businesses, he allows us to make improvements to our businesses. What I mean by this is that, for example, if we have a office that we're working out of, if we own a building or a rental property, and we go and we improve upon it, we extend it, we add paint to it, we redo the floors, we redo the kitchen, we do something with it. He's going to allow us to account for that, not as a write-off or as a deduction, but as an asset. It's going to increase the value of our businesses and the asset itself. And when we get later on down the road, when we prepare to sell the asset, we're going to tell Uncle Sam that we spent a lot of money on the improvements. And he's going to say, you can add that to the starting point of when you originally purchased the property. That's important, because if I paid $100,000 for a piece of property and I made $50,000 on improvement, the starting point now is $150,000. Now, mind you, I'm oversimplifying this example, but the idea here is now it's $150,000 starting point. And let's just say hypothetically, you sell it for $200,000. As a result, you're only going to pay taxes on just $50,000 of the gain. How did I get there? I took $200,000 and I subtracted the original cost of the house, which was $100,000, and another $50,000 for the improvements. It yields a gain of $50,000. So Uncle Sam says the same about us as individuals, right? In the sense that we're making improvements upon ourselves in our business because he understands the value will increase your business, which increases the money. And I don't know if you've gotten the hint by now, but Uncle Sam loves money. And he loves it when business owners invest and improve their money lives. so that they can ultimately continue to bring happiness to everybody around them. So we improve upon that. Now here's the next thing that we do when we make better business decisions. We realize now finally how to separate ourselves and how to create the right entity structure so that we minimize the taxes, because Uncle Sam does care about how you structure your business. And then now all of a sudden we can begin to make strategic deductions that literally comes right back and benefits us as well. And here's an example. Did you know that when you form a C corporation, you can in fact legally employ yourself as your own employee? And what that means is the corporation is going to bring in the revenue from the gigs and from all of the different things that you do. And it keeps the money on the inside of it. And then it's going to pay you as the employee. And you're going to take that then to your personal bank account and deposit the money. And that's what you're going to pay for your personal rent, your personal expenses, your personal affairs like clothing, makeup, and hairdos. You're going to pay for all that out of your own personal pocket because you got a real paycheck from your real business. And so here's what happens though. Here's the beautiful thing. On the corporate side of your own business, you're going to be able to deduct the cost of the payroll to pay you. So your wages, the employer's portion of FICA taxes, which is Medicare and Social Security tax. And he's also going to be able to deduct on top of that the unemployment insurance that you have to complete. And you're also going to be allowed to deduct if you hire a third-party payroll administrator to manage the payroll for you. You see, what Uncle Sam is basically saying is if you are conducting business and you're about to spend money, as long as it is ordinary and it is necessary. So if we can improve upon you, then let's go for it, especially when you work with business coaches. So we get to come back and work with people like me, and we become a write-off, a deduction inside of your business, because Uncle Sam says that when you invest in your own business, you're going to be able to deduct those investments. And what I mean by that is the investments of the cost of working with people like me. And it doesn't even have to be me. It could be people like, for example, that you hire that are your sales coaches, or people that you hire that are your marketing coaches, or your advisories, or your consultants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All for the purpose of you eventually generating more revenue. So, I get asked this all the time. Jonathan, what is the best entity for my business? And this is what I share with them. The entity type determines your risk. You see, if we are extremely fearful and afraid to conduct business, and we're only going to work with 2 clients max, then you may not necessarily need to go through all of the expense of creating a C corporation, which I call the condom of entrepreneurship. It's 99.99% effective. If someone sues you, it does protect all of your assets personally, as long as we do not pierce it and commingle the funds. But if you're just doing business with maybe a couple of people and it's a small gig and the risk is relatively low and you don't really have any assets of your own anyways, then here's the beautiful thing about our country. We get to create something called a sole proprietorship, which is what all of us did. I know for a fact when we all woke up and we decided that we were going to take control of our own destiny, that we were going to decide our own fate, that we were going to raise our own sense of who we are, our own sense of vibration of the powerful CEOs that every single one of us are who's watching this show and has a business. We decided to take life by the cojones and decide for ourselves. And do you know what Uncle Sam said in the background? Yes, let's do it, babies. And when you report to me at the end of the year, you're going to tell me how you set up your entity. You're going to tell me how you set it up for tax purposes. And then you're going to tell me where you spent your money legally inside your business. And then I'm going to tell you the tax bill that you're going to give to me, which will be not as much as somebody who's an employee of somebody who receives a W-2. So, what's the best entity? First is the protection. What is your level of engagement with others? I call sole proprietorship, by the way, essentially unprotected sex. And the reason is because Uncle Sam believes the same thing that I do, which is it takes one time fooling around with somebody, one time to attract a whole bunch of nasty STDs potentially, or have a whole bunch of other things that can happen from a one-time event. That's the sole proprietor. So there's a middle ground that one can look at, and it's called the limited liability company. And each state has different rules about it. But if you're in Arizona, you can file and become an LLC, a limited liability company. And I like to call this the dental dam of business. You see, it still offers us the protection against those that sue us to the assets inside of the LLC. Now, there's some stuff that seeps out from the side that personal things can in fact be attacked, but it takes a lot of gumph to get there. Now, here's the thing, right? In the sole proprietorship and in the LLC, the single member LLC format, not electing to be treated as anything else, Uncle Sam is a prude, and he gets offended by this. And he says, you know, sole proprietor, I don't like it when you practice unsafe sex, so I'm going to charge you a mandatory 15.3% tax on your net profits over $400, a mandatory tax. And then he looks to the LLC and he says, I like that you're attempting to have like protected sex to a degree, but it's not fully protected. And so as a result, I'm going to subject you to the same rules, and I'm going to charge you 15.3% in FICA tax, plus ordinary income tax, by the way. So these two types of structures typically pay the highest amount of taxes because Uncle Sam's a prude. But all of a sudden, you form the corporation now, and as I said earlier, it's the condom of the corporate world, and he likes that. And he says, I like what you're up to. And as a result, your tax on all your income from $1 up is just a mere 21% currently until 2025, unless the administration changes things over the next election. We don't know. So he says 21%. Now, there's a lot of problems with it staying at the C Corp level that I'm not going to take the time to go over per se, but here's what I'm going to share with you. It typically is a lot more expensive, both on a tax side and an operations side on a C Corp. So many moons ago, lawmakers decided to create something called the Subchapter S of the corporate law. And it creates the S corporation. And so here's the dealio, Emilio. The S corporation is kind of like a hybrid between the sole proprietor that is really kind of reporting the income on their own personal tax return. We call this a 1040. And the corporate return, which is an 1120 on the C Corp side. It's a hybrid. And so what happens is Uncle Sam says, I appreciate you really doing your best to protect yourself at any level we can. I'm a prude sometimes, but I want to say I am so thankful that you became an S corporation. Now, there's legal rules around that. So please do not go out and form an S corporation today without doing proper planning. That would be like committing a crime and leaving your fingerprints all over the scene and then going to the attorney and asking them to protect you. That's terrible, I just realized, because in theory, what I'm saying is you'd go see the criminal lawyer first and ask them their advice. But the whole point about this is that you, in theory, don't want to go and do something without the right guidance first. That's probably better said, right? Another idea would be you wouldn't want to get into a ship that you've never operated before and set sail, because the chances of making it without a navigator and a captain is pretty much null and slim. So needless to say, he says, come into the world of the S Corporation. And as a result, what you're going to do is you are going to be able to benefit from both worlds. What he means by this is he says to you, you know, taxpayer, you're not going to have to pay that mandatory 21% tax on the corporate side, and you're not going to have to pay the mandatory tax on the FICA side. All you're going to have to pay taxes on is the ordinary income tax side, which has a variable rate of 0 to 37.5% as of 2020. So what happens now is he says you can take that net profit and shift it to your personal tax return through a form called a K-1. And there is where you're going to be able to be fully able to claim the income there and pay it based on your individual rates. Now, it sounds yummy. It sounds delicious. It kind of is like a siren in the ocean, you know, waiting and tempting you to step on in. And although there is a siren there that could very well be available for you to make out with and have the greatest time of your life, you have to very carefully plan how you get there. And in one way, you could say, I'm kind of like the siren speaker. I help and whisper to you the ways to legally get to the siren without causing her to blow out your eardrums and drown you, and instead make an amazing connection together. And this is true of your tax life. This is why women and LGBTQ business owners hire me as their profit coach, because I am like the siren whisperer that walks them and guides them through the darkness of taxation. Because I'm telling you, there's over 450-ish plus deductions we're entitled to take. And not only that, though, but there's over 700 things, pages, books that we have to remember in terms of the tax. Because if we think about this, taxation to me represents the human existence. You see, in human existence, every single moment of our lives, we are making decisions about how we're going to react to the things that appear to us. There's always only two choices. We can either react negatively to an action, or we can just ignore it and move on and see it in a positive light, what I call the opportunity. So this is the reality of human existence. You see, if someone says to you, you're an asshole, I have two choices to make. I can either look back at them and go, you're the asshole, or I can smile and say, thank you so much for acknowledging that I'm badass. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling me an asshole. It's about time somebody recognizes my most amazing talents. Thank you. And move forward. This is true about taxes as well. You see, if we choose to make you an S corporation, for example, you now have opened up 500 other things that you have to do to maintain the S corporation status. There's other things in the background that you don't even see because the siren is waiting for you, babe. She's waiting for you. She's gorgeous. She's waiting. She's singing songs for you. But you don't even realize that she's waiting there secretly, twisting her fingers behind her, waiting for you to come into the depths. But I do. I know what she's up to, just like in tax law. I know that the moment you form an S corporation, you've got to file now, of course, payroll reports to pay yourself. It's a beautiful thing, trust me, but you have to be aware of that too. I also know that if you do not pay yourself and you take out something called distributions, you're going to be in a whirlwind of hurt. Uncle Sam's going to come knocking on your door and demanding that they reclassify that as wages. And now you will find yourself like an accountant did in 2017 when he stood before the United States Tax Court and it pronounced that he was guilty of illegally reclaiming those distributions. So the rest reclassified it as wages. $90,000 in wages, and then finding himself forced to close his practice. We don't want to do that. We don't want to have the IRS coming knocking on our doors and closing us down. We don't want to be like one of my clients that had the IRS knocking on their door and filing a claim against them for $93,000, nearly putting them out of business. We don't want to do that. And luckily for me, I was able to step in and negotiate and mitigate the damages as they came through. No fault of my own, by the way, because I had been advising them for years to stop paying their people. They were paying them as contractors and move them into the employee status. Say what again? Yes. You know, a lot of small business owners have people that come to their door and have their dogs barking like I do right now because I'm staying home. I apologize. And so a lot of us have this dog staying home. But the point about this is where was I? I was on something really good too. Darn the dogs. That's okay. Paying ourselves and deductions and IRS and S corporations and sirens. The whole point about this is this. Without us properly planning, there is so many landmines and so many tricks that the siren, the IRS, is waiting for you, but not on purpose. You see, in my book, I position the IRS as the friend because it is true. If you're a business owner, he wants you to be successful. I want to be successful. Everybody in this world wants you to be successful. The question is do you believe it? And here's what I know to be true. When we take the time to work on ourselves, to raise our vibration, and to truly believe it within our own selves, then we will believe that we are worthy, that we are valuable, that we are smart, that we are the geniuses, that we are the experts in our field, and that the government is our friend. But here's the thing, right? Like a good uncle, like my uncles would do, if I misspoke, if I got out of line, I did something that wasn't of custom, I would feel the wrath of their discipline. And that is Uncle Sam. You mess up because you don't play with inside the rules. He's going to come at you and slap you pretty hard. Like I said earlier, the client that had to almost pay $93,000. Instead, we negotiated it down to $30,000. But the point is that we don't want to be in a position where we're finding ourselves with a surprise consequence. Again, business life is like the human experience. With every decision that we make, there is a consequence, both positive and negative. There's a reaction for every action. That's Einstein, right? Or it was not. It was not. No, it was not. It was the first guy that talks about gravity. I can't think of his name now. Hold on. One of you scientists will tell me who it is. But the point is one Newton. Of that guy, right? Newton, thank you. Newton's law, right? For every action, there's a reaction, right? This is true as well in business and in our tax life. For every action, there's a reaction. So wouldn't it be amazing? Could you imagine for a moment that you could have somebody at the tip of your fingertips that's an expert in this, that you could pick up the phone in real life and text and say, hey, listen, so I bought your book. I took your 5-week program that's coming up October the 14th at 3 p.m. I took your course and I'm still kind of like nervous about moving to the next step. And I'm about to go to Costa Rica. I got a business deal there. What are the things I should be looking out for? Wouldn't it be nice that you could just access your phone and send a text message or have us talk to you or an email and let you know the things that you should look out for in advance thereof, and to help you so that you document it properly so that you survive an audit? Because here's the thing about audits. Audits is like playing roulette. It is like gambling. The IRS does not tell us when they're auditing, or their structures behind it, I should say. What they do tell us is when you will be audited, and they give you well, not you, but us, through special powers, be it because I'm an IRS enrolled agent, we're enabled to know they're going to audit you within at least a 6-month head start. Now, damn, talk about security. So what we find is that audits are kind of variable. They do it by random, by the way. So it's like playing roulette. They may audit you because you did not disclose income that was reported from someone else to them on your behalf. Maybe you're audited because they're doing market research of their own. And what I mean by this is that I believe it was in 2014, I want to say, or 2015. They wanted to do a study on lawyers. So they randomly selected lawyers all over the country and they audited them. And what they discovered is that lawyers, to all of our surprises, no offense to my lawyer buddies out there, is that they weren't being very honest about the income they were making. And as a result, did you know that if you hire an attorney, you're required to file a 1099 if you gave them even 1 penny? You're required to give them a 1099. So sometimes the government does it for research. They just want to know. Sometimes they're curious to see if their own Internal Revenue Manual is working, and they'll test it, and then they'll randomly select people to audit. And here's something else. If you are a sole proprietor or a single member LLC filing a Schedule C on a 1040, that's tax talk for you're an individual who files taxes through your business on your personal self. If you do that, you have a higher audit risk than you do in other categories. Because Uncle Sam knows that all of us started out as sole proprietors and couldn't afford to pay. So here's what I'm going to share with you guys one last tip, and that is this. I appreciate everyone here who's seen me today. I want to thank Howard for all of this. But in closing, let's remember one important thing. If you're a business owner and you're curious about how do you take your business to the next level, it first starts with understanding your deductions. And if you'd like, I'm not sure how, but I can include something for you guys to go out and get a copy of my book. And I can also provide it to you guys for free if you would like. And if so, I'm sure Howard can explain how we can do that, but I would love to gift that to everybody. So in closing, taxes is like meeting a siren who tempts you. So let's just take a little bit of caution and raise our sense of awareness, use mindfulness, and remember, it's with love that I bring you today's message. I'm Jonathan Bengal. Thank you so much for having me today.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. I'm going to cool difficulties today. All right, you see me?
Yep, sure can.
Right, so great. Thank you, Jonathan. That was amazing. And I love your analogies that you use and the way you talk about taxes and money and spirituality. And then we've got some comments. I don't know. Can you see the comments on your end?
I just realized that I just saw that. Yes. So I saw a couple here. Debbie, grateful to be able to tune in. Thank you, Debbie, for tuning in. Hopefully I got some valuable information out. Yep. And Carrie, I like the analogy of musical happiness with financial happiness. You can relate to it. I actually am a musician as well for another show, I imagine. And we can talk about my nonprofit that I created for orchestra members. And then interesting analogies, Dominique, right? Interesting analogies. Yes, because you'll never forget, hopefully now, how to legally protect your business and what 3 entity types are.
Exactly. So does anyone out there want to post any questions for Jonathan?
Absolutely, now's the time.
The only ones who can post are the ones on Facebook. So who's ever on the Facebook page, you cannot post from the website. Sorry about that. But the Facebook page, post any questions you might have. Anyone
and thank you, Carrie. The sirens, that just came to me as I was speaking. I'm a natural orator, so hopefully that came across.
You were great. All right. Well, no questions right now. What about you, Jonathan? You want to give out some information? I know you have your website posted up there. How else can they tune into your show? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I cannot respond to this per se, but I'll leave it in the private chat and then you can paste and copy. So you can find me on YouTube. I have my own show called Naked Tax Talk. And the format is actually very similar to what you just experienced right now with your show, believe it or not. So I bring in the spirituality, the human thing. So what I say on my show is when we get naked and bear down to the naked truth about our personal lives, our business lives, and our money lives, we're able to improve them all. And that's the purpose. That's the goal of my show. So you can see me on youtube.com, Naked Tax Talk. And then I will also give you the link for my free book for those of you that tuned in and would like a copy of it. I would love to give this to you. And so if you give me a moment, I'll get the link for that.
Okay,
And,
I'll also post it on the Facebook page later for everyone.
Perfect. And then if you guys are interested, there's something else. No, that's it. So the book is there. I'll give you the book. And then if you want, in the book, there's a link there if you want to find out more about my upcoming program that we're providing as well. Here's the cool part about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not. Am I allowed to promote this program of mine, or am I crossing the lines?
Oh, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
So my program is called More Money, Less Tax, The Blueprint. It's technically a 6-week program. But here's what you're going to get for it. You're going to walk away not knowing that if the IRS does knock on your door, it's not going to shut down your business. You're going to know how to separate yourself from your business finally. You're going to be able to have the confidence to make the right deductions at the right times. And here's another really cool thing. One lucky winner is going to get a real live tax planning session that's valued at $24,000 that you can implement tonight, to save you more than that, I know it, in your taxes for the upcoming tax season. And so right now we're offering scholarships of $5,800 per applicant if you're a woman or an LGBT business owner. And you can get this, and effectively it drops the price down to $197. It's ridiculous. But me and my board were able to come up with the money, so we are able to gift this in forms of scholarships. So you can get that by accessing my book and then clicking on more course information.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again, Jonathan. You're coming back at the end to do a little visualization meditation for us after we have a couple more songs.
Yes.
So we'll
totally
see you. We'll see you in a little bit.
Sounds good. About how many minutes?
I'd say about 8 to 10 minutes or so.
Perfect. That will let me go prepare. Thank you.
Okay. See you in a bit. All right, Larry, we're going to bring you on here. Yep. There you are. Can you hear me? Okay. Can't hear you. Cannot hear you. Uh-oh.
How's that? A little
there
better.
you
And hey, let's try to get the technology working. I'd like to say a few words about an acoustic music showcase called Fiddler's Dream in Phoenix, and that we had to close long ago, but that we have been having an open stage on Thursday night through Zoom.com, and people are able to donate, and that we are actually becoming and are maintaining our solvency during this quarantine. It was very, very in the shutdown. So we are not in a hurry to open Fiddler's Dream again, and it's going to be very good when we get back. We're making changes inside the program and the facility. It's really great. We're making changes. So thank you for letting me put in a word for Foods. Okay,
for sure. Well, let
Please
me
join
introduce
us.
you a little bit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I never got a chance to introduce you. Just started out in the beginning. So who are you? You're Larry Hale, and
Yes.
Actually found out about you through Luke and Claire.
Yes.
You play music with, yeah. And you play 6-string and 12-string guitar and banjo, as we're about to see. Awesome. And you volunteer at the Fiddler's Dream, which is in Phoenix, right? So
Correct.
how long have you been there for? How long's that center been up?
30, if not 35 years. We're getting to 34th year. They started it way before the 86 is when I came to town and became involved. So quite some time. It's a nonprofit. It's the best one in town. The only nonprofit in town. And we survived a lot of other coffee houses closing up and stuff like that. So we've been really good. We're all volunteer, and we just enjoy it. It's anonymous.
It's such a cool little coffee shop there. For anyone who's in Phoenix, it's on Glendale around 18th Street.
17 Dreamy Draw. 17th.
Right, Dreamy Draw.
51.
Right behind the Quaker building there. Right off the 51. And it's kind of hidden back there. You wouldn't even know it was there, but they've got it's really quaint and cute. So check it out when it opens again, of course. So please play a few songs or a couple songs
As you wish.
for us. All right, thank you.
Okay, good. I want to mention, if I can, this is pretty new. This is let me see, get it on the camera here. And right there. This is a Helix banjo, and I build them. And the spoons are my innovation. So's the rim. So are the use of bamboo and other things like that. We built about 120 in a period of time. So this is called Dance the Moon. There's a land that I have heard of, far beyond the western sea, where you and I can live in freedom. There we'll raise our family, and we'll dance the moon across the sky. There our children will be born. Say farewell, for we are leaving early in the morning. Early in the morning. We'll be digging pork, gold knock potatoes. If we fail, there's work at hand, but building a railroad won't be easy. But it's better than starving on the land, and we'll dance a moon across the sky. There our children will be born. Say farewell, for we are leaving early in the morning. Early in the morning. Where can a Jew from the Russian steppe live so they won't destroy his home? And all across that golden land I heard they've not had one pogrom, and we'll dance the moon across the sky. There our children will be born. Say farewell, for we are leaving early in the morning. Early in the morning. There's a lady in the harbor, holds a torch of liberty. And all the world, there's no one like her. That is why you and me will dance a moon across the sky. There our children will be born. Say farewell, for we are leaving early in the morning. Early in the morning.
All right.
All right. Here you got to put on the phones. Still there? Everybody's still here.
Yep. Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Want to bring one more up here?
Okay. Here we go.
That'd be great. Okay.
Little tuning. What do you say?
I'm sleeping down by the river tonight. The air is so clear and the stars are so bright. And the river will whisper a song to my heart, and the moon will come up with a crescent to start. This road is narrow, it's hard to get through. Single file love, no time passing, do you? And we'll stay on the path, and we'll keep our own trust. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Here in my dreams, you're with me always. The moment will leave us, a memory stays. Looking for green fields and living in stone. When we're together, we're never alone. Now that the valley is coming in sight, you don't have to fear and you don't have to fight. And the last few steps are mighty and tall. It's the end of the journey, it's just down the hall. This road is narrow, it's hard to get through. Single file love, no time passing, do you? I'll stay on the path, and we'll keep our own trust. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. There you go, kids. Thank you.
Great, Larry. Thank you. All right. So
Thank you.
I will. Yeah, I'm going to be right there. 1 second.
That's fine. I want to thank
having some
everybody that came to see
technical
us. Boy, what a hoot.
difficulties today for
Show you the
definitely having some
fantastic
technical difficulties.
That's okay. Stay.
All right, there we go. I think back. Sorry
There you go,
about that
kid.
all right.
Great.
So, thank you, Larry. And it was great to be on. I appreciate you. And yeah, we'll look forward to having you on again for sure.
Wonderful. I really appreciated it. So happy to hear Jonathan. What a hoot. Good job. Good luck to all of you.
And thanks for vibration.
Okay, good.
Thank you. All right, have a great rest
There you
of
go,
the
Jonathan.
week. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Hello, everybody.
All right, Jonathan. All right, there we go. So today has been a challenging day on this computer. So, all right, so you're gonna do a little visualization meditation for us to end it.
Yeah,
here and bring us
absolutely.
into a whole
Yep.
new vibration for the weekend, right? Awesome.
Let us do it, shall we? So
Okay.
hopefully you don't mind. I have a particular way I
yes.
do things. So let's do it right now. If you are, maybe you're sitting right now watching this in some way, but let's find ourselves sitting in a comfortable position where we're not like straining and we're not, we're not, you know what I mean? So we want to find a nice upright position. Both feet should be touching the earth so we can connect and be grounded. We want to have our backs sitting up straight as possible to allow the energy to travel from the top of our heads down to the rest of our body. And we want to take our hands and have the left kind of holding the right gently and the thumb slightly touching and then just holding them in our laps. You can, in fact, when you hold your head, if you want to relax it and look down just a little bit, you can leave your eyes glistening open a little bit, just a little bit of light coming through. Or you can completely close them, but just try not to allow yourself to fall asleep. All right, so here we go. First things first is, as we get comfortable, just find yourself getting into a position where you feel relaxed. And we'll take a few seconds to just kind of feel our body and just kind of get to that relaxed state, keeping that back up, keeping the legs grounded. Slowly, we'll start to pay attention to our breath. We'll feel it as it enters the nostrils. And it will feel like, we're going to push the air out with our lungs too, right? We're going to feel that. So now what we're going to do is this. As we breathe, we can slowly just breathe and get familiar with the breath. So we'll get familiar with the sensation of the air as it passes through our nostrils. And we'll pay attention to the sensation for just a little bit, for a couple of seconds. Just pay attention to the intake. And you just breathe normally. And you just pay attention to the way the breath feels. We can start to feel ourselves a little bit more calm. It's natural for you to think about other things, but the goal is to just think about the breath and just pay attention to the sensation of the coolness of the breath as it enters and the warmness as it exits. And trying our best to forget about our daily lives, but just for a few seconds. Now, as we begin to take in the breath, let's pretend and imagine for a moment that the cool sensation that we intake is the love that we have for ourselves. It's the self-love that we have for ourselves. We're going to pay attention to that sensation as it enters into our nostrils. And imagine its love and embracing us, tingling all over. And as we do so, we allow the subconscious mind to say to ourselves, I love you. So allow yourself to say that you love yourself to you. Say, I love you. Say it to yourself. Again, with each cycle of breath, as you inhale, think about how it feels its love coming into your body. It's self-love. You're allowing yourself to say, I love you. You see, what we have to learn, and what we do learn over time, is that we are capable of loving ourselves first. And when we do, then we can accept and we can raise our sense of self, our vibration upwards, and believe when other people say to us that they love us. And we'll believe them more because we love ourselves. As we exhale now, we pay attention to the warmth of the breath. And as we let go of the breath, we also let go of the negative self-talk. We let it go, no more. We let go of the self-shaming, of thinking we're too fat, we're too skinny, we're too thin, too muscular, we're too something, we're just not enough. We let that all go with the breath and replace it with love's love. I love you. If you were feeling guilty because you slept in today, or you're feeling guilty because maybe you had a beer last night or whatever, you just let it go. You let go of the judgment and the shame with the breath exiting. I love you. You might be tempted to think of other things, and that's fine. We acknowledge the thought as it creeps in, and then we come right back to acknowledging the breath. I love you as it comes through the nose, and letting go of the guilt and the shame on the exit of the breath. We pay attention to our shoulders. If they've tightened up, we relax them. If we pay attention to the feet and they've shifted, we restabilize them. Carrying no guilt about it. Just do. If we are to attain happiness in this life, we must also learn to love oneself, to believe that each of us is worthy and valuable, and we deserve it all, not just one, but all of it. Take the next breath in, believe yourself, tell yourself, allow your inner voice to say, you deserve it all, and believe it. And as you exit the breath, say, you know it. That's right. You do deserve it. Allow yourself to stay in that moment now for about a minute, reminding yourself that you are worthy, you are valuable, you deserve it all, and that you love yourself. And feel yourself expand into the greater universe. And feel yourself fulfilling itself, filling up with love and all of the beautifulness that comes with it all. And everything around you beginning to appear even brighter, even more magical. You can hear the choir chord. I don't know what that chord is, but you hear it. Hear the major chords being played as you begin to accept yourself in full acceptance and loving yourself. You hear yourself saying it, I love you. You deserve it all. That's right. That's right. With that, spend some last few seconds of visually seeing yourself, hugging yourself, embracing yourself, giving thanks to yourself and praise. Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing. Thank you, Jonathan, for being here today. Thank yourself. Acknowledge it. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes and come out of meditation. And don't forget to hug yourself when you're done. You're on mute. I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you for being here again and all your wisdom. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I will put your information for your free book up right there on the screen for everyone. And go there, check it out. And also our website is there where we have all the past replays and everything. We do this every first and third Friday of the month. And we had a huge event a couple weeks ago where we had the extravaganza, 3 hours with 4 speakers and 3 musicians. And that is all recorded and online on our website here. So go there, check it out. And we asked for a small donation, but it's definitely worth it. It's a lot of little nuggets in there that you'll appreciate. So please check that out. Check out our website. Come here the next will be on the 16th. And we have a couple special presenters for you then. So look forward to raising our vibration with you all then. Thank you again, Jonathan, for being here. Thank you, Larry, for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone. Appreciate all of you being part of the community. And we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.